So here's the deal. We're back on Small Ball, finally. It's been about 2 months since our last show, and we're back. Okay? It's only, we only had, I think it was only one show since the beginning of the MLB 2020 season that we had. So we had a lot of plans. We had some changes coming. And then we just kind of stopped. There were a lot of factors that went into it. I'm not going to get into that now in the interest of time, but we're back on Small Ball. A couple changes to be made to the show, and before I get into our regularly scheduled programming today, I want to make you aware of those changes. Okay? Change number one is that the show is going to be a little shorter, usually. Today's show in particular is going to be kind of short. They're going to be like maybe 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes. I think it's better for you. It's definitely better for me. And it's going to be more snippets, shorter clips. And that brings me to number two. The number two change is I'm going to utilize, and I know I've said this a couple times, and it never really came to fruition, but I'm going to utilize some of the other platforms we have, Instagram, other features on YouTube, IGTV, to bring you, my viewers, my wonderful, dedicated viewers, shorter clips, right? Okay, so I'm going to cut out important segments of each show, and I'm going to post them on YouTube, on Instagram. I'm going to post important quotes of mine. I'm going to post, like if we do a top 10, which we do, as you guys know, every Tuesday, on our Tuesday top 10. I'll just like post the list on Instagram, stuff like that, okay? Because the live shows, especially now that it's in the school season, and a lot of my viewership is students, I feel like it's easier to do A, shorter shows, and B, if you can't make the live shows, we're still doing live shows. Today we're having some technical difficulties, so I'm uploading this, but I feel like it's easier for everyone if the shows are shorter, like I said, but also if you can't make a live show, and I do encourage you to watch the live show if you can. It's a lot of fun. We have some, for those of you who aren't aware, I interact with the viewers and such, stuff like that. But if you can't make the live show, I'm gonna have like 5-minute to 10-minute clips of like the highlights, right? So you can just go in, be like, Tristan says Gary Sanchez is terrible, and you can just watch 5 minutes on that, and if you don't have time. But I do encourage you to watch the live show. Change number 3. We're done with, and this is going to sound pretty ironic, and you might make fun of me for this, we're done with the regular schedule, okay? I know I never really even followed the regular schedule, but I pretended like I was going to. I'm done pretending that we're following a schedule. I'm just going to do a show whenever I deem it right, okay? And it's going to be, I'm sorry I'm lagging. I think I'm lagging a little bit, but you guys can hopefully still hear me. Yeah, so I'm going to do like the same amount of shows. Like I'm going to try to do like 4 a week, okay? But it's not going to be, scheduled every, same days every week, okay? And I will notify you guys on Instagram, maybe on YouTube, I'm not sure, but follow the Instagram if you can, when we are going to be doing shows. And change number 4, it is minor, but I'm going to try to be more, if this is even possible, I'm going to try to be a little bit more entertaining to my viewership, okay? Because, yes, this is a baseball show, yes, I think it is important, the content that we are talking about, and I think it's interesting in and of itself. But a lot of the feedback, a lot of the positive feedback that I've gotten from this show is just the humor at times, and just the entertainment in general outside of baseball-specific entities. Okay, so starting in a little bit, right now I'm just kind of being as normal as I can be, which, say what you want about that. For the time being, just to introduce today's show, our return of small ball. So exciting to be back. But it's not going to be as much of just me saying stuff. I'm going to try to be a little bit more animated, a little bit more engaged, and hopefully more interactive with the audience. And we tested out some quizzes. We did some quiz games and stuff like that. We did had a lot of guests on while the season was being postponed, and we'll try to continue with that if we can. Okay, so those are the 4 changes. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. A lot of people, I got a lot of people that were disappointed when I sort of took the layoff from the show. And I have a lot of people that are excited that we're back. And that's very nice to hear. And hopefully, like I said, there's a lot of reasons why I do this show. I like it. I think that it's important to talk about baseball specifically on the internet because it's underreported in the media. And among many other things, I like entertaining people and making them happy, bringing a smile to their face, to his or her face, or their faces. And I said this in my first ever small ball show. If one person has a better day because they watched small ball, then I feel like my job is completed, is fulfilled, right? So we're just gonna get back into it. We were on a roll before we kind of took the layoff. Like I said, it's gonna be shorter shows, so I'm gonna try to, and you guys know this, I don't always, brevity, brevity's not a word. Brevity is not my strong suit when it comes to talking, especially about baseball. Like, this intro is supposed to be 2 minutes. It's already 8 minutes, right? So, very concrete example right there. But I'm going to try to condense my points a little bit. Because there wasn't really a lack of material. That's really not why I'm shortening these shows. I was coming up with stuff to talk about with ease, to be quite honest. But I just think that for you guys, especially if you're going to be watching the live shows, especially also now that school is back in session, I feel like it's just easier for everyone. Okay, so that's what we're doing. That's what we're dealing with here. And let's get rolling. You see a little bit of a new setup. I'm on a nice, comfortable couch now instead of the rock hard chair with no armrests that I was using before. And I guess these armrests aren't really conducive either because I'm not 9 feet wide. But nevertheless, I'm more comfortable. Hopefully you are more comfortable. And let's get talking about baseball. So, this intro is almost done. I can almost guarantee that. So baseball is back. Okay? And that sounds stupid to say because it's been back for 2 months now, but most of our shows that we did before we took the layoff were off-season shows. Baseball is back. Another change, which isn't a change because I said I was going to do this, and that we're going to be making is every show, I'm going to try to make my picks for the upcoming games before our next show. Okay? And if that gets boring, I'll stop doing it. there's like an obscene amount of games tomorrow because like everyone's playing. It's Friday and there's like 5 doubleheaders, so it might get boring. I might just post my picks on Instagram or something. But today I'm going to try to go through them and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, let's start today's show. So let's everyone take a deep breath. Thank you for watching. Here we go. We're back on small ball. Now, I'm just going to start today's show with this. I make a lot of predictions, right, on this show. I say things that I think to be true. I say things that I don't think to be untrue. And I'm usually very confident about my predictions, okay? We're just going to put it right out there. I got everything wrong. I was absolutely horrible. It is embarrassing. If we look back at the shows before the season started, at some of the things that I said, and if you look now at the standings, at the league leaders, anything related to baseball, basically anything, any baseball media outlet that you can find, any article about baseball, you will find something in there about the 2020 season that I was wrong about. Because I was wrong about absolutely and positively everything. Absolutely everything. Okay? So bad, right? And we're going to detail that a little bit. I'm going to do a new segment where, and Colin Cowherd, like, I'm inspired by The Herd. It's a great show. He does a thing called Where Colin Was Right, Where Colin Was Wrong. Okay? I'm not sure if I'm going to make that a continuous thing, but I do today want to address 3 things I was right about, 3 things I was wrong about, and I had to squeeze it because there's way more than 3, like I said, and 3 things where the jury's still out, and we'll find out by the end of the season whether I was right or wrong. So, it's not good. It's really not good. I mean, it was terrible, some of the stuff that I predicted. So here we go. I'm going to start with what I was wrong about. Okay, okay. I did a bunch of postseason predictions, okay, before the season started. And I picked who would make the playoffs. I picked what would happen in those playoffs, and as a result, who would win the World Series, the pennants, etc. Okay? And I had some teams in the playoffs that are really bad right now. And the other day I was looking at the standings in Major League Baseball, and the 2 teams that were in last place in their respective leagues, so the last place team from each league, were not only teams that I had in the playoffs, but one of them I had winning the National League pennant. So, the first thing I was wrong about, and I'm just going to throw this all into a big bucket, my postseason predictions were awful. So utterly bad, okay? I had the Arizona Diamondbacks winning the National League pennant and making it to the World Series. I had the Boston Red Sox making the playoffs. I had the Cincinnati Reds winning the NL Central. I mean, it was just bad. It was just really bad. I had a couple other things wrong with my predictions that we'll get to in a minute. But the Red Sox pitching staff is maybe the worst I've ever seen of any team in baseball, professional baseball, Major League Baseball, I guess. The Arizona Diamondbacks, what in the world? Like, okay, they ended up being a selling team at the deadline. They traded for Starling Marte in the offseason. And I was like, bang, this puts them over the top. They're in the playoffs. I think they're actually going to win the pennant. They literally got to a point where they traded him at the deadline after trading for him 6 months prior. The only bright spot is Zach Gallen. I thought that Madison Bumgarner was going to have a great year. He has been abysmal. The offense, oh my goodness. I watch a lot of D-backs games for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And it is like surprising when they actually score runs. It's absolutely ridiculous. They're so utterly bad right now. And the Red Sox are even worse. And I'm not like, oh my goodness gracious. These were two teams that I said, if they really try and embrace that they have good rosters, can go far. And I don't know if they're not embracing it or if their rosters are just horrible. But my goodness, was I wrong about the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox and the Reds to a lesser extent, but still. I mean, I said the Reds were ready this year, right? Last year I liked them, but I didn't like them enough to put them in the postseason. This year I was like, they're ready. Everyone's ready. They add Castellanos. They had Sonny Gray last year's deadline, and they were just horrible. Number 2, the Chicago White Sox. Now, I'm not fully, and this could go into the jury is still out bucket. I'm not fully ready to admit that I was wrong about the White Sox, but I was very, very, very low, very, very down on the White Sox coming into this season. They're now in first place in the American League, and they are on fire. I said their biggest issue was going to be their strikeouts. They have been not striking out a whole lot this year. Their pitching has been very, very good. Their bullpen, which I thought was going to be one of the league's worst, has been competent. And some of these young guys that I don't like, that I didn't really love coming into this season, are really, really playing well right now. Eloy Jimenez, despite the swing and miss in his game, is really playing well. Luis Robert, really, really playing well on both sides of the ball. I mean, he's a much better defender than I gave him credit for. So I'm not fully ready to admit that I was wrong. I don't think they're going to do too well in the postseason, but they're in first place, so I gotta give them some credit for that. Number 3, this was one of my most passionate topics leading up to the season, and it's twofold. I said coming into the season, I almost guaranteed that the San Francisco Giants would be the worst team in baseball this year and would finish last in the entire league. Not primarily, but in large part thanks to Gabe Kapler, who I graded. I don't remember the exact grade that I gave him. I don't even know if we did grade the NL West. But it was, if I was going to grade him, it would not be good coming into this season. The San Francisco Giants right now are contending for a playoff spot, and Gabe Kapler might win Manager of the Year. Now, one of my biggest pet peeves in baseball is when people, like, we don't talk about managers a lot, right? We only talk about them when they come up, and when they come up, now all of a sudden everybody has, like, an encyclopedia's worth of opinions and information on managers, right? Like, nobody has any idea what they're talking about when it comes to managers, yet when the topic comes up, when Manager of the Year comes up, everybody has their, like, surefire 100% like argument lined up ready to go. My biggest pet peeve is when people just take an overperforming team and attribute that to the manager. Okay? Like, it's really not that simple. That is not how it works. I think you can't analyze managers to their fullest extent if you are not a member of their team, or at least maybe even a member of another team that plays that team frequently. Because we don't know, right? I would say 90% of what they're doing we don't see, okay? But there are things that we can, we can analyze, we can talk about. I thought that Gabe Kapler was a horrible, horrible hire for San Francisco, and I thought this roster, they lose Posey, he opted out, and they have nothing, okay? I thought Mike Yastrzemski, I put him, I think he was like 7 on my top center fielders lists, so I was kind of right about that. He's been balling. I didn't think he was going to be this good, especially defensively. He's been ridiculous defensively. One of the best defenders in baseball this year. And Gabe Kapler has looked like honestly, I got to say, he's looked like a Manager of the Year candidate. I mean, he has been, have more fun watching the Giants than any other team this year. They are the most exciting team for me to watch this year. Forget about the Padres. Like, that's a story for another day. But, like, I'm not even going to get into that right now. But the Giants are the most exciting team to watch, in my opinion. So many overperforming. Overperforming is not the right word. So many breakout players. Versatility. Balance, right? Bullpen's pretty good. Starting pitching is somehow good. Lineup, defense is incredible. A lot of that is, has to be attributed to the manager. Young team, not a lot of veteran leadership. Gabe Kapler comes in after a rough tenure with the Phillies, and he looks really, really good. And I have to give him credit. I have to give the Giants credit. Mauricio Dubon, all of a sudden, is like in MVP talks somehow. They're starting at some point Tyler Heineman behind the plate. Like, I was watching a lot of Giants games early because I think they just happened to be playing teams that I was interested in. And when I read their lineup, I would laugh. And now they're sitting, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs still. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. But they're competing for a playoff spot, and I was very wrong about the Giants. And probably even more wrong about Gabe Kapler, who I do think, and overperforming teams sometimes are, credited to the manager. Or I should say should be credited to the manager. Sometimes they shouldn't. In this case, I think Gabe Kapler has done an excellent job in San Francisco. Now, let's talk about some things I was right about. On the topic of managers, I did my manager hire, fire, grades, right? I graded every hiring this offseason. I think there were 7 new managers, maybe 8. So I graded each hire, right? And the firing that came along with that. And I don't remember the exact grades, but I was really, really impressed. Not impressed. I was really, really pleased with Jace Tingler, the hiring of Jace Tingler for the San Diego Padres. I didn't know really anything about Jace Tingler when I heard when they hired him, but I did a lot of research, and I thought that he had a really, really good balance between player and manager relationship and also old school structure, okay? And this Padres team has a lot of personalities, right? And a lot of excitement. Most people are saying, undoubtedly, right, the most exciting team this year. I think excitement comes in large part from the manager in many cases. But I could see them being exciting this year. Very exciting. They were I think I called them the most interesting team this year. But they're exciting, and somehow they look like a team of 10-year vets all over the field, and they're young, and they're inexperienced, and they're polished, right? The defense is good. The lineup is top to bottom consistent. The bullpen is really, really good. And I think Jace Tingler has done a really, really good job. It was a surprising hire, and I liked it. I did a lot of research, and I was like, you know what? I think this guy's going to be really, really good in a really, really difficult organization, right? A losing culture in the last 20 years, and a difficult roster to coach. And I think Jace Tingler has done a really good job, and I thought he would. The second thing I was right about, I was very low on the Dodgers. Last year, I predicted them to lose in the first round. They did. I was very low on the Dodgers this offseason until they got Mookie Betts. And now I'm like, okay. They're still very, very lefty, offensively at least. Very, very left-handed. But now they add a ton of balance. There was a ton of swing and miss, still is, in the lineup. Now they add Mookie Betts. I mean, he just basically, every problem that I named for them offensively and defensively, he contributes to the fix. So when they when they traded for Mookie Betts, I was like, okay, now this talent, before I thought it was a bundle of talent. Now I think that this is a real contender. And in the postseason, I think they're good. I had them losing in the NLCS. I'll have to revisit that now. I'm blowing up my predictions. We're gonna do new predictions, anyway. But now there's so much more balance, and I thought they were going to roll in the regular season. And that's not really I was right, everybody thought that, right? That's not a hot take. But what I was right about is that Mookie Betts has become the surefire absolute leader of that team. Comes in first season, he gets traded a couple weeks before the season. He comes in, I was like, Mookie Betts has to be the leader of this team or it's not going to work, and I think he will be, and he is undoubtedly the leader. He is playing all over the field. He is leading off, hitting third, hitting second. I mean, he's doing everything well, and he is undoubtedly the leader of this. It's not even young anymore. I just don't think that it's a very mature team. And I think he comes in and he makes them so much better beyond what he's able to do on the field. And the third thing that I was right about. I said I was going to keep this show to 30 minutes. This segment right here could go 30 minutes because, and I've alluded to it before. Do I really need to say it? Do I really need to say it? I would bet money that you guys probably know what I'm about to say. Do I really need to say it? I don't think I do. I really don't think I need to say it. But I'm going to anyway, because I made this prediction 5 years ago. And for the first 2 years, I looked like the literal least knowledgeable person about baseball in the entire world. And I stuck with it. I was like, no, I'm telling you. And everybody was like, just never say anything about baseball ever again. And I was like, I'm telling you, give it some time. And for the first 2 years, I'll admit, Gary Sanchez was pretty good. I literally can't even keep a straight face while I'm saying this. Gary Sanchez is batting .131 this season. .131. The lowest batting average for a full season, and obviously this is a short season, but among qualifying players, the lowest batting average in a season in Major League history is .168. Gary Sanchez is batting .131. The player who hit .168 was Chris Davis a couple years back. And he became, for all of professional sports, not even just baseball, he became the epitome of garbage when it comes to professional sports. He became the laughingstock of every sports outlet in the world. And now we look at Gary Sanchez. Chris Davis hit 16 home runs that year. Gary Sanchez has 7. Shorter season, sure. Gary Sanchez is on pace for 20 in a full season, okay? Every other stat, he's worse than Chris Davis, and even worse defensively, which is hard because Chris Davis is atrocious defensively. Gary Sanchez, at this point in time, I am 100% serious about this, is the worst player in Major League Baseball. The worst. There is not a player that does worse things for their team than Gary Sanchez. Literally. I'm not even exaggerating. He is the worst player in Major League Baseball. He is hitting 130. 130. And he is the worst defensive catcher in baseball. He's leading the league. People say, oh, he figured out his pass balls. He figured out his blocking. He's leading the league in pass balls, and he's leading the league in wild pitches allowed. Leading the league in both of those categories. People say, Well, his defense, it's not great, but like the bat makes up for it. Think about that. Think about that for a second. His bat makes up for it. He is hitting 37 points. 37 points below the worst single season batting average in Major League history. And people say, well, but the power. He has power. Okay? So even though he does everything else literally as badly as you could possibly do it and still be a professional baseball player, he has power. Gary Sanchez has 7 home runs. 8 home runs. I was wrong about that. 8 home runs. Okay? His OPS is 590. 590. Okay? That is not power. Okay? Every once in a while, he connects, whatever you want to call it, closes his eyes, happens to make contact with the ball, goes over the fence. Okay? Gary Sanchez has had about 135 at-bats this year. Okay? He has 8 home runs. Kyle Higashioka. Think about it. Kyle Higashioka has a quarter of those at-bats and 4 home runs. So, per at-bat, he is hitting twice as many home runs as Gary Sanchez, which is the only thing that you told me Gary Sanchez can do well. Kyle Higashioka, who I don't want to rip on Kyle Higashioka, okay? But he is no Johnny Bench. The only thing that Gary Sanchez does well, Kyle Higashioka does twice as well this season. And I don't the funniest thing is, well, he's a catcher. So his offense isn't great, but it's good for a catcher. You can't use the for a catcher argument when he's the worst catcher I've ever seen playing in Major League Baseball games. Because if you think about it, the whole point of for a catcher is you sacrifice some offense because catcher is a very important, very demanding, very difficult to find position. It is not difficult to take a random person who has no value, no skill whatsoever, and write a C or a 2 next to his name on the lineup card. That takes nothing. It's not hard to do that. Okay? If you put Mike Trout behind the plate, would he suddenly become better offensively? No. Because he wouldn't be able to get the job done defensively. And neither can Gary Sanchez. He looks lost behind the plate. And he has for 5 years. People say, well, he's in a slump. What? He's in a slump. Over the last 3 seasons, he's hitting .211 with a 727 OPS. Three seasons. That's a really long slump. Every single time he hits a home run, people say, "Oh, maybe this is what it's going to be to break him out of the slump." How come Tyler Wade isn't in a 3-year slump? How come Jesus Montero, when he came up and was horrible, how come he wasn't in a 3-year slump? How come Chris Davis isn't in a 3-year slump? He was really good at one point. He was a top 5 MVP guy at one point. How come he's not in a really long slump? Maybe he's just bad, which he is. And maybe Gary Sanchez is even worse. He is the worst Major League Baseball player in the league right now. Literally the worst. Literally the worst. He has negative framing runs, which is an analytics stat that I don't care about. But his strike percentage is below 50%, which is ridiculous. I mean, some guys have that, but it's really, really bad. And he is incapable of doing anything on a baseball field, literally. Like, he's really, really bad. So that I was right about. I've been right for 5 years. I said the Yankees have Austin Romine last year, who's not that good. Really not that good. but he is the best catcher in their system. They let him go. Okay. Now they have Gary Sanchez. Well, now they bring in like 10 other guys in case Gary Sanchez does poorly, because like that could happen, right? One of them being Eric Kratz, who's raking offensively, but like I don't think he's a great offensive player. However, the Yankees pitchers, I have no idea why nobody talks about this. All you analytics people out there, you're like, oh, analytics, blah, blah, blah. This guy, when he's playing, creates this many runs and all that nonsense, okay? When Gary Sanchez is behind the plate, the Yankees pitching staff has a 5.06 ERA. 5.06. When Eric Kratz is catching, 2.11. Think about that. When Eric Kratz is catching, the Yankees give up 3 fewer runs per game than when Gary Sanchez is catching. Does Gary Sanchez add more than 3 runs with his bat that is making up for that lackluster defense? No. So, the best catcher right now on the Yankees roster is Eric Kratz, which is not that good because he's not that good. I don't know if this 2 ERA is going to stick. If it does, maybe he's the best catcher in the league, because that's way more important than an occasional ball going over the fence. But even if it doesn't, he's the best catcher in the Yankees system right now. I would take Kyle Higashioka over Gary Sanchez. And it's the one problem that I think could hold the Yankees back. And that brings me to the jury is still out. And I'm going to continue with this topic. I picked the Yankees to win the World Series. But then I thought about it for a second, and I realized that in last year's postseason, we went through this on the show. 9, or I think it was 8, right? There's 9 playoff series. I think there's 9 playoff series. In 8 of the 9, the team with the better defensive catcher won. We did it on this show. We went through it series by series. The team with the better defensive catcher won 8 of 9 postseason series last year. 8 of 9. Okay? The Yankees have the worst one in the league, so they're not going to be facing a lot of teams that has a worse catcher. So I started to think about it, right? The Yankees have so many things going for them this year, right? Great lineup, great bullpen. Aaron Boone looks like he can coach now all of a sudden. Really good pitching staff. Aaron Boone's been much, much better, I have to say. But anyway, the one thing that could hold them back, and it could really hold them back, is they don't have a catcher who can play baseball. They have their guy. They have a guy in their roster. It's Eric Kratz. Okay, he's not great, but if they put him behind the plate, they're my pick to win it. With Gary Sanchez, I'm really not sure, because there are many things, many flaws of a baseball team that you can overcome if you have talent, right? Coaching, other positive things going for you. One of the things that is really, really, really difficult to overcome, regardless of what else you have on your roster, is bad defense behind the plate. So they have their guy. They don't have to look very far. He's right there on the bench. But if Gary Sanchez is behind the plate, I don't know. So the jury is still out. I picked the Yankees to win it. They're struggling right now. A lot of that is injuries. People got to relax. Like, everybody's coming back. Everybody's like, oh, the Yankees just, injury problem, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I said this at the beginning of the year. Guys, come on. Like, everybody gets hurt. All of a sudden, the playoffs come. They're magically better. Like, they're being as cautious as they can. Everybody's back now. Yes, some guys are getting hurt, but let's cool it, all right? So the jury's still out. Now the Rays. I picked the Rays to miss the playoffs. I did my predictions before they expanded the postseason. So if I had updated my postseason predictions once they went to 8 teams, I would have put the Rays in. So it's not really fair to say that I have them missing the playoffs. But they're the number 2 seed in the AL right now. So one could say I was wrong about that. I thought their defense, which has been really bad, I was right about that. I thought their defense was really going to hold them back, and it hasn't really this year. But here's why the jury's still out. I think their defense, horrible defense, really, really, really bad defense. I mean, if you look at it, is going to hold them back in the postseason. And I did say that the Rays would benefit most of any team by a 60-game would benefit most by any team of it. Oh my goodness gracious! Would benefit the most of any team by a 60-game schedule. 3-man pitching staff, banged up bullpen, shaky manager, bad defense. I just thought that the 60-game schedule really, really helped them. So I can see why they're succeeding. Also, they won like 10 of 11 games against the Mike Ford Yankees, right? I mean, it's like they beat the Yankees 10 times. Yeah, okay, sure. They beat a lineup of Mike Ford, Gary Sanchez, Tyler Wade, and a pitcher almost. So yeah, right, they're getting the job done, but in the postseason, I still don't love them, so the jury's still out. And then, one of the things that I said was going to be true this year was that, and was true last year, is that Shane Bieber is overrated, okay? And the jury's still out. Trust me, the jury is still out. But he literally looks like Bob Gibson. He is absolutely cooking right now. He's going to win a Cy Young. Could even win MVP. But here, stay with me for 1 second, okay? The Indians last year have Roberto Perez. Unbelievable defensive catcher. They add Sandy Leon. Cannot literally hit a ball if it's on a tee. But outstanding defensive catcher. They have a catching tandem of Roberto Perez and Sandy Leon. Also, in my opinion, the best pitching coaching staff in the league. Okay? Well, that's what, I mean, we talked about this. The Indians have had breakout pitcher after breakout pitcher. Mike Clevenger, Trevor Bauer, Shane Bieber now. And Zach Plesac, right? And I think all these guys are succeeding because of their surroundings. And I think that's true of Bieber. Now, I was wrong. He's a little bit better than I thought. And I did think he was good, but not this good. But I still do think if he is on the Yankees with Gary Sanchez, he's not. I think he's good. I think he's good at best. But his stuff doesn't excite me. His command is good, not great. His pitchability has looked pretty good this year. He has pretty good makeup this year. But honestly, I think, if he signs a big-time deal and goes somewhere else, whoever, unless it's like the Cardinals, right, who are also kind of in that boat. But if it's a team with a bad catcher and a bad coaching staff, I think whoever pays him a lot is going to be regretting that decision. So the jury's still out. I was wrong. He's better than I thought. But I still think Shane Bieber's a little overrated. So that's going to do it for today's show. I'll probably post my picks, but we went way over, so I'm not going to do that right now. But thanks again for watching the Small Ball Return. Have a happy, healthy, and safe rest of your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What the heck was that? I thought it was Monday. Then I thought it was Tuesday. Then I thought it was Wednesday. It's actually Thursday. So have a happy, healthy, and safe rest of your... my goodness. Rest of your Thursday. And I'll see you when I see you. Or you'll see me when you see me. I'm not sure when our next show is, but I will let you know. So thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, recommend if you feel inclined to do so. And that's the Small Ball Return for you. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Peace.